Mummies are one of the great horror genre's monsters, but that doesn't mean they can't step out into other genres. The 1990 film, simply titled The Mummy, defies all conventions. It's frightening, epic, and romantic at the same time. The production is as full of secrets as an Egyptian tomb. How do they pull off all those epic effects? And keep watching to learn why Brendan Fraser kept this secret while filming The Mummy. There were other potential leading men. Brendan wasn't the first choice to play Rick O'Connell. The part was offered to major stars of the time like Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon. Brendan was all too happy to take the opportunity when it was offered to him. He was a rising star at the time who was still looking for that breakout role to make him a household name, and he found it. Tom was the only man on the list who did join the franchise later. He starred in the 2017 reboot. A Pig in the Desert. 1995's Babe was a major hit that earned $254 million at the worldwide box office. The sequel, Babe in the City, was a flop that grossed $69 million against a budget of $90 million. So what do those films have to do with The Mummy? They were instrumental in its creation. Without the flop of Babe in the City, Universal chairman Stacy Snyder may never have sent out a list asking for writers to helm properties the studio owned. They may never have found director Sommers, who had always wanted to do his version of The Mummy since he saw the 1932 original with Boris Karlof. They wouldn't have had his expensive but epic vision that made the movie what it is today. No one knew what kind of film it was. Steven had a vision for the film, but it was different from every Mummy movie that came before. It was set in the 20s, and the Mummy was more agile, which also made him more frightening. Producer James Jacks enjoyed the mixture and called it a period romantic adventure with major scares. Brendan, for his part, wasn't sure how to describe the unique film. When he was first cast, he didn't know if it was a horror, comedy, action, romance, or all of the above. Rachel Weisz, who played Evie, isn't a fan of horror movies. She starred in The Mummy anyway because she feels it's more of a, quote, hokum, a comic book world with comedy in addition to scares. How to survive in the desert. The crew's plan was to shoot all the desert scenes in Egypt. The country's political instability made that impossible, so they moved to Marrakesh, Morocco, and the Sahara Desert. They also found a dormant volcano in Hamanuptra that was perfect for tomb scenes. Co-producer Patricia Starr, who had previously worked on several Star Wars and Indiana Jones films, helped them get the clearances they needed. They knew they had to work fast, but met with local officials to get medical, catering, and transportation in record time. They also got the crew kidnapping insurance just in case, but the actors didn't know about it until filming wrapped. Surviving the heat of the desert and avoiding its deadly wildlife was difficult. Everyone had to drink a special bitter but effective beverage every 2 hours to stay hydrated. Several crew members had to be airlifted to a local medical center after being bitten or stung. Brendan almost got bit as well. The crew sent out a memo to avoid a snake with yellow dots. He went to the bathroom on a rock and saw one, but luckily ran away before it could bite him. There's no limit for effects. Visual effects supervisor John Burton Jr. said in a 2017 interview that Steven once asked him what they couldn't do in terms of effects, what would be too expensive or too demanding. He didn't believe in setting limits from the beginning, so he told him there were none. He said he should give everything he could. Steven took those words to heart. It led to an impressive result, but one that was also expensive. At one point, the proposed budget for the entire film was $15 million, but he said that would only cover its visual effects. It turns out he was right, making it a large portion of the film's final $80 million budget. Fighting imaginary enemies. CGI was necessary for much of the Mummy's most intense scenes. The effects team was surprised with how well Brendan managed to work with it. There was a scene during the end where he had to rescue his love interest from the sacrificial slab. He also had to fight off an army of CGI mummies. He still managed to perform a carefully choreographed fight scene. What's even more impressive is that he learned it in 2 days and completed it in one take. It was a blessing for the effects team because it helped them create more convincing mummies for him to fight. Brendan's near-death experience. Brendan revealed how much danger he truly was in during the filming of The Mummy on an episode of The Kelly Clarkson Show. He was filming a scene where it was supposed to look like he was being choked by a rope. He stood on his toes, but director Stephen Sommers wasn't convinced. He said, quote, "It doesn't really look like you're choking. Can you sell it?" The next take went too far. The crew member holding the rope accidentally pulled it too high. He tried to go down as it pulled him up. The next thing he knew, his elbow was in his ear, the world was sideways, and he had gravel in his teeth. He even stopped breathing and became unconscious. The stunt coordinator rushed over to help. He woke him up and jokingly said he was, quote, "in the club." because Mel Gibson had a similar near-death experience on the set of Braveheart. An embarrassing blessing in disguise. No visual effects team is perfect, not even one with a $15 million budget behind them. Luckily, many of their mistakes on The Mummy ended up helping the film. One scene shows Imhotep leading his army to steal Evelyn for his diabolical ritual. Two of his slaves have also taken Benny, and one of them has white eyes. The effects team did this to hide the fact that the actor kept looking directly at the camera in every take. It ended up making the scene more convincing. The white eyes worked because Imhotep's crew was meant to be in a trance or zombified state. Creating The Mummy. Steven didn't want The Mummy to be a pure horror movie. They also had limits on how frightening he could be because the movie was only PG-13. That meant coming up with a look that was intimidating but not like every other horror movie mummy. Arnold Vosloo played him and wore performance capture suits in certain scenes. He said it was a completely new experience for him. The lights and dots it used to capture his movements made him feel like he was walking around the set looking like a Christmas tree. He also had to take a few daily measures to play the relatively hairless Imhotep. He got waxed every day for the first film. He saved himself the pain for the sequel, but still had to shave his entire body every day. Another part took serious dedication. Patricia Velasquez, who played Ankh-Su-Namun, wore only body paint, a loincloth, and a few pieces of jewelry. It was still one of the most difficult parts to prepare for. The paint often took 4 hours to apply, with frequent touch-ups that took 2 hours. The process and fumes often made her sick. When she returned for the sequel, she said that such intense preparations wouldn't be practical to do again. The crew obliged with a full bodysuit. Real horrors. If you think one part of The Mummy that you'd expect not to be computer-generated, it probably wouldn't be the swarm of locusts. The truth is, they were entirely real. They didn't come out of Arnold's mouth, but they were on the set. That adds authenticity to the scene where Dr. Chamberlain, played by Jonathan Hyde, struggles against them. There was another true plague on set. The rats that crawl over Evie in one of the final scenes are real, and her horrified reaction is genuine. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these fun facts was most surprising to hear? Let us know in the comments section below.